Welcome, Xander, to Metalarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Slimelord, this first album, Critidomyocosis Relinquished. So, curiously. So for this aspect, the band is new in general because the band started in 2019. This is your first album. Obviously, I saw that you play with Cryptic Shift, more technical stuff than this. So how no how do you motivate to create another band into the death metal?
It's just more thrash metal orientated,
Mm.
and it has that like technical aspect. And the Slimelord started basically just wanting to do a more pure death metal thing uh, in 2019. But as you, even if it was just for fun on the side, inevitably we got addicted to the sound that we were creating in Slimelord with like the lower tuning and the more reverb, and just with that lower tuning automatically coming up with different style riffs, way different to Cryptic. So it soon evolved into its own thing, and now needed a full length, and here we are.
Mm. Okay. Oh, curious thing about this. Well, the lineup from the Slimer. Three of you are from Cryptic Shift, and just two are from the older band. So the three of us create. Are you into this to create a new band, or just was your idea, perhaps, since the beginning?
Um, it was it was kind of mainly our vocalist Andy, because he wasn't in a band, and I guess he was seeing like Cryptic go out and play all these shows, and he'd always wanted to be in a band, and it's difficult finding musicians anyway. So we uh, we got together and said, yeah, we'd make a band with Andy. Uh, so it wasn't necessarily one person's idea, but Andy is quite into a lot of like biology and nature kind of realms. So that sort of realm, like themes and that, definitely came from Andy and worked its way in. But in general, it was like a collective forming of Slimelord.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. And when did you start the compositions of from this new album?
Yeah, all of them, pretty much all of them were from 2019.
Hmm.
So when we first started playing Slimelord stuff, we recorded like a lot of the rehearsals, and we must have come up with like 15, at least 15 different like individual songs from 2019. So all the stuff off the new albums kind of pretty old at this point, but as we've like progressed with Slimelord, uh, and like pushing it creatively and in like the compositions, it was more important to like go deeper on these songs and weave more layers within them. So the little bit more like dense and more more nuanced than like the previous EPs we've put out. But yeah, I think the Beckoning Bell is from that one's from 2021 actually. But uh, Gut Brains, Splayed, Batra, Tidal, Hissing More, they're all from like 2019.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Oh, since 2019, you are releasing EPs, singles, a lot, about three EPs and a live album. So, what do you decide to release an album now? Where are you not continuing to create just EPs or a live album again?
I always say that you can only do one debut album. Once you release that one album, that's it. That's forever your debut album. So it's just timing. It just felt right to do now. We'd put out a few EPs, and slowly we were gathering like a handful of tracks that were like, this is good enough to be on the debut full length. And it's just about timing when we all felt it was right. And I guess we'll just do albums from now, uh, unless we feel like some EPs. But yeah, just albums now.
Mm, okay. Okay, and who came with the idea to create the cover art for this new album? Because it's very amazing one, and it's very amazing one. And what exactly means the critomycosis critrit? Well, that's a difficult. I think it's a biological name, so I think it's something
Yeah.
kind of abstract.
Yeah, it's Chytridiomycosis relinquished.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Chytridiomycosis is an amphibian disease that affects like frogs and stuff, and it's like a real big pandemic in the like nature like world all over the world. It's like destroying all these frogs and that in amphibian life. So that word kind of caught my eye when I came across it, and immediately my brain was like spiraling with ideas and story ideas for a like a fantastical adventure that could be weaved around this like amphibian disease. And then the artwork is Brad Moore. He's a really cool artist. He's been doing stuff for years, done some really good covers and like comics and things. And like the wackiness of his work, you know how it's really like psychedelic and hallucin like you feel like you're hallucinating sometimes looking at it. So I felt like we felt like he was the right guy. Uh, and on the front cover, it's like a spreads round like the whole like vinyl all the way around, and it depicts different parts of the album in it. So every song has like a bunch of certain scenarios on the record. So in Batrachomorpha Resurrection's Chamber, the villain of the album is like resurrecting these ancient creatures in this geological geothermal vent. So in the center of the album, under that like spider kind of tentacle looking guy, underneath you can see all these amphibians floating out of this vent, which is like depicted there. And then further away in the album, on the left side of the cover, there's a goblin who's stirring this pot of like goo, which is meant to be that's during the second track, Gut Brain Axis, and this goblin is like brewing this stew and pouring it into the digestive system of this ginormous toad to try and cure it of this chytridiomycosis disease. Every song's kind of represented in the artwork at some point.
Hmm. Oh, interesting to know because next question goes to that because you mentioned about God Brain Axis, a curious name also. The other name is Batrachomorpha, Resurrection's Chamber, and the other one is titled Slaughtermarsh. So that's the three names that have captured my attention because the name, very curious name. So what kind of what are the lyrics for these three songs? What's related lyrics these three songs?
Um, yeah, I get what you mean by the names captivating you. Like track names is super
Yes.
important with an album, and like how it looks in its like written form and how it sounds. So like that's like really important to us. So in Gut Brain Axis, what's happening is our character has met this giant toad that lives at the center of the earth. And in the first song, the beckoning bell, he goes down into the earth and beckons it. So in Gut Brain, he's inside the giant toad, like in its guts and in its like internal organ systems. And it's a bit like those old films, like what's it called, Fantastic Voyage, when
No.
these scientists get like shrunk to go inside of like this human body. That kind of was the inspiration for it. So in Gut Brain, he's inside this giant toad in all of its organs, trying to defeat the like mutated bacteria inside this giant toad. Bachcomorpha, as I mentioned, is the villain of the record, like summoning his army from all these ancient amphibian fossils. Um, and then Tidal Slaughtermarsh, that one came from. I was listening to the radio once, like BBC 3 or 4, and there was this program on the radio telling this story about an English coastal town that was getting like coastal erosion. So the town, like like the sea was getting higher and destroying all the land, and the houses were going to like fall into the sea. And it was this really crazy. It was a bit like on in like a Christmas Carol story, how the guy gets visited by three different like ghosts of the past, present, and future. It was a bit like that, but on this village that was on the coast, and eventually this village gets like destroyed in the ocean. So, and I think during that they mentioned the word tidal slaughter marsh because that's what the village became. It was just like a complete mess, all destroyed by the tide. So I heard that name and was like, that sounds cool. That sounds really cool, especially with like when you do slaughter marsh in like one word. It looked really cool. So that one is it's right near the end of the album, and basically the bad guy in the album, the villain, he wins. The world is destroyed, and the hero fails his mission. And tidal slaughter marsh is all of his legions coming out from below the earth and destroying everything. And at the same time, the earth itself is like revolting, and all of these like coastal tidal wave like disasters happen all at the same time.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, okay. Interesting to know a lot of details for these three songs. Well
yeah,
done,
man, yeah.
well done. I did me pre-order because the album is really amazing one. It's well, a very hard cover. Also, I like this first album. So,
Nice,
talking
thanks.
about the promotion from this new for this first album, what kind of promotion do you have for this new album? Perhaps tours, you will do a video, or perhaps you are recording the second album. Who knows?
We're doing a release show in London, which is just sold out, so that'll be good. Playing like the full album in London. But other than that, we've got a tour in July. We're doing it with Cryptworm, who's an English band as well, and that's with Killtown Bookings, which is getting booked right now. So if you want to book us in Europe, then get in touch with Killtown Bookings. That's for like 2 or 3 weeks. But in terms of like the new album, I don't know yet. We've still got loads of old songs from 2019 and 2020 sitting around that will be made into like the new album. And I think that's what's kind of special about Slimelord is we've got all these old recordings which still have the like passion and enthusiasm from like the first like rehearsal sessions we had. So going back to those recordings, it feels good because the songs mean something, and it's still with that original passion of Slime Lord.
Oh, okay, okay. Now talking about other kind of aspects in, as I mentioned in the first question. Well, as you can see now, we have a lot of releases during these 3 or 4 years, 5 years. A lot of releases each weekend, each day, singles, EPs. So for you, what is the biggest difference in it that Slime Lord has compared to a lot of productions that appears now in the world?
I think Slime Lord, the sound of the album, like through the compositions, through all the layers, and then through like Damien Herring, who mixed it. I think he did a great job on the mix and master. It sounds perfect, I think, for what we came up with in the songs and all the different layers of like guitar pedals. And even though it's death metal, it's like it's straight death metal, it's got a lot of strangeness and weirdness to it, but I don't think it's got so much that you can class it as technical or progressive. It's still death metal, but maybe it's like high up on it's close to getting to like progressive and weird kind of death metal, but it remains death metal, despite all of its strangeness.
Hmm. Okay. Well, nice to know. Nice to know. Now talking about now the people are well, you are belongs to the new generation of the death metal heads, extreme metal musicians. So with this aspect, as you can see, there are a lot of personal music in the world. There's a lot personalized technical thrash, progressive thrash, technical death metal, extreme violation. I don't know. A lot of mixtures in the world happen. So, what is your opinion about you are with Cryptic Shit also? And that you're playing technical trash dead, this kind of stuff. So, what's your opinion about now about the music or the extreme music are continue growing up with a lot of mixtures with a lot of things.
think I think metal's pretty special because you can take it in so many different directions,
Hmm.
you know, and there is so many different sub genres and that. Um, and like previously it was like thrash metal, death metal, black metal, but now all three of those have
Mixtures.
like uncounted amount of subgenres in those subgenres themselves. I think it's super cool that there's even still like however many 30, 40 years later of like the creation of like death metal, there's still completely new sounds coming out, and I think that's what's special about metal because it's always wanting to be different, even if it's different to itself, you know.
Hmm. Okay, okay. Well, Sander, the sad times arrived at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. You explained me a lot of things from especially from the lyrics because I'm really interested. As I mentioned it, I did my pre-order for Bane the Backspin. It's a great album. I hear completely more than 10 times. So when I hear an album more than 10 times, I also buy it. So
Oh,
that's a
excellent,
nice.
thanks, man, thanks.
Okay, so for this, perhaps do you want to add something to your new Latin American fans and obviously Metalerium followers?
Yeah, the fact that we have Latin American fans is incredible. That we're all the way over here in England, and we've only played outside the UK once in Copenhagen. So one day I'm sure I will be in Latin America. And yeah, thanks all. Thanks for listening to it 10 times, man. Awesome.